Hey folks, welcome back to the Edupedia world, and I am Abhinay Gupta. And today again we are continuing with the professional ethics, right, under the consideration of the Chartered Accountant Act 1949. So we are yet to start with schedule. We have already had 3-4 lectures on this topic, right, and we'll take at least 1 or 2 lectures more before we start with the schedules, right? Because once we start with the schedules, it goes on and on. It's a lengthy topic. A lot of things has to be discussed over there, right? So I don't want any interruption in between those topics. That is why all the miscellaneous secondary things in this chapter will be covered in advance, right? So what is the topic under consideration for today's lecture? We will discuss about section 27, the maintenance of the branch office. Branch office? Yeah, I remember something. Branch office we dealt in holding, sir. But that is not the same branch office we are talking over here. Because in your holding chapter, right, the consolidation of balance sheet, you were talking about you were dealing with the branch, which is the branch of a company. Because holding company is a company and that branch also is a company. But over here we are not talking about those companies, right? We are talking about branch of the CA. That means the branch of the partnership firm or the proprietorship firm of any chartered accountant. Right? We're not talking about the branch of any company. Clear? So please keep that thing in mind and understand what the branch is first. Right? So for example, if there is AG Associates, then AG Associates can have a branch in place 1, place 2, place 3, place 4. It can have 10 number of branches. Like I take an example of KPMG, PwC, EY, Deloitte, the big fours, right? Most of them, they have their head offices in either Delhi or Mumbai. But still they have their other regional offices in Bangalore, in Kolkata, in Hyderabad, right, and in lot other places. So they are the branches of those firms, right? You must be knowing that, for example, KPMG, they do not operate their audit in the name of KPMG. They do it in the name of BSR. Grant Thornton, they do it in the name of Walker and Chindoik. So Walker and Chindoik, BSR, Bartley Boy, all these are CA firms, right, that has collaborated with the big fours and everything. So BSR is in Delhi, BSR is in Mumbai, BSR is in many different states. So that is what we are discussing over here. How do we maintain a branch office? What are the prerequisites that have to be satisfied, right? So the first thing it has to say, right, section 27, the first thing it says that if any chartered accountant who is in practice, right, or who has a firm of chartered accountancy, if he's into partnership or something, right, and if that person has more than one office in India, then all those offices, each one of them, should be placed under a separate charge of a member of the institute. That means if you have 10 branches, you will have to have at least 10 members of the institute in your partnership, right, or your whole-time employment, right, under whose charge you can place the entire branch that you have created. So before heading in detail into this topic, let us first understand what an office is, right? So the Chartered Accountant Act defines office. It says office is a place where a name board is fixed, or where such place is mentioned in the letterhead or any other document as place of business, right? So we're not talking about office anywhere. We're not talking about the building structure. What we are concerned with is that the office or any premise which you say that yes, this is my office, it should have your name board outside. Yeah, AG Chartered Accountant or AG Associates, right? So that name board with the name of your firm should be placed in front of your office, and whatever letterhead or any document for correspondence that you have, right, over there you should have specified the address of this location as your office, as your regular place of business. But remember, you cannot do that in front of your residence. If you are a chartered accountant and you want to show off the fact, right, then you can place a name board in front of your house with your name itself. That yes, CA this. But you cannot place the name of your firm in front of your house. Why? Because that will make it an office, but it is not an office, right? So the act says there will be no bar to the putting up of the name board in the place of residence of a member, with the designation of chartered accountant. That yeah, you can write CA Mr. X, CA XYZ, right? But provided it is a nameplate or a name board of an individual member and not of the firm. Got it? Why? Because you cannot let people think that yes, this is your office. because that is the definition of the office. It has the name board in front of him, the name board of AG Associates, right? So you can place your name over there, CAAG, but you cannot use the name of your firm AG Associates in front of your residence, right? Now let's come back to the point that we were talking about, the branches, right? So the institute says that you will have to have individual members taking charge of each branch that you have, right? You cannot take charge of all the branches. If you are in Delhi, how can you take charge of the branch in Bangalore? You cannot. So you will have to have a member of the institute taking charge of that branch. Only then it is called a branch, right? And if any member fails to do that, that means if you open up a branch and you do not appoint any other member of the institute to take charge of that branch, then you will be guilty of professional misconduct. Yes, over here we'll call it professional misconduct. It is not under the category of other misconduct, right? It is a misconduct with your profession, right? But yeah, over here also you have given a relaxation. So the relaxation is being given to the people who stay or who dwell in the hilly areas. You know why? During the winters, right, the hills, they are seized. That means people from the hill, they leave their home, they come down to the plains. I have studied in a hostel, right? An hostel in Kurseong. Kurseong is a hill station in Darjeeling district, right? It is in the North Bengal. So over there also, we had a different scholastic year. It started in the month of March and ended in the month of November, right? Like the other schools, like most of you where you have studied, it started in the month of April and it should end in the month of March next year. And you have very little of winter vacation but a long summer vacation. But over there the scenario was different. The scholastic year used to come to an end in the month of November, and December, January, February was holiday over there. 3 months ceased. 3 months holiday, the entire hostel or the entire school was closed, right? And again from the month of March, a new scholastic year, a new session would begin. So even the schools used to do that. Why? Because the condition over there is not appropriate, it is not feasible for you to stay, right? So similarly, they also thought about the chartered accountants who have their firm over there, that they will have no business in those 3 months. Why? Because people have come down to the plains, right? So Siliguri was the plain near Kurseong, right? It's a town over there. It's like the second Kolkata of West Bengal. That is my hometown, right? So what happens over there is people from the hills, they descend to the plains, and since the Siliguri is the most developed town over there, so they all come down to Siliguri. So the chartered accountants who have their offices in Kurseong and Darjeeling and other cities on the hills, they can open a secondary office in Siliguri, but only for those 3 months when the entire hill is closed, right? So it is an exception given to them. When everybody comes down, even you can come down with your business over there. And so for the office that you have in Siliguri, you need not have any other member of the institute in charge, right? Why? Because basically you open that office only when you do not sit on the hills. You yourself are there. And when you go back to the hills, you shut down this office, right? And whenever you're opening this office over here, remember you have to inform the institute, right? So let us see, we have certain conditions based on that, right? So if we have the exceptions to the separate exception to the separate in charge, that means you do not need a separate in charge. The first exception is the member practicing in the hill area subject to certain conditions. So condition number 1, temporary office in a city in the plains for a limited period not exceeding 3 months in a year. That means you can open up a temporary office. Remember, you'll also call it a temporary office. That is not your permanent office, not your permanent correspondence, right? So that is a temporary office in a city in the plains, and that will only be for the limited period which should not exceed 3 months in a year. Why 3 months? Well, basically December, January, February are the 3 peak winter season when it is not feasible for you to stay up there on the hills, right? So even the institute says that we'll allow you only for those 3 months. You can survive over there in the month of November, and you can survive over there even in the month of March, right? Because if you open up your firm over there, that means you belong to the hills, man. You have spent your life over there. That is the general perception. So you can bear that cold over there, right? But okay, December, January, February, because everybody descends to the plains, we allow you to descend too, without the formality of hiring or getting into a partnership with some other chartered accountant in practice. Further, it says that your regular office should not be closed. That should still be in operation. In operation means that is not necessary that you go and sit over there, your employees, they come and the work is going on. When we say it is in operation means if anybody has to send any document, any letter of correspondence, anything, right, then they will always refer to your permanent office that is on the hills. So all those documents, everything will be delivered over there. So even when you are coming down to the plains, make some provision that the letters and the documents that you receive on the hills gets to you, right? Third is display the name board only during the functional time, right? So if you have taken up an office on the plains, right, then you cannot keep that office open throughout the year. Neither can you keep the name board hanging over there for the year, that people know, yeah, this is the office of Mr. AG Associates, right? So only when you are there, you can hang the name board, and once you leave, you should take away the name board itself along with you, right? Please take it there and hang it in front of your office on the hills, right? Next category is temporary office should not be mentioned in the documents. Yes, on your letterheads, on your visiting card, everywhere, whatever address of correspondence also you want, everywhere you will mention the office that you have on the hill. Why? Because that is your permanent office. And this is just a separate place for your operations. It is not an office, right? It is a separate place for your operation where you can come down and operate when the scenario over there on the hill is not favorable, right? And the last is you need to inform the institute on opening and closing. So before you commence your task, right, before every winter, it shall be an obligation for all the members or the firm, right, to inform the institute that you will be opening a temporary office from this particular date in this town. And then again, when you close the office, that is when the period of permission expires, the 3-month expires, or when you close it even before that, right, you will have to send an intimation to that effect to the institute by the registered post. So there are certain formalities that you have to follow if you are opening up an office on the plain, right? That the period should not be more than 3 years. You cannot keep the name board hanging throughout the year. Use it only for the 3 months. Your real office should not be closed. You should not mention the address of the temporary office in any letter of correspondence. And at last, you should inform the institute when you start the work, when you shift to the office in the plain, and again when you are shifting back or your period of permission comes to an end. There's one more exception, which is if the second office is situated in the same premise. Like if you see, then if you come to Delhi, right, then KPMG, the office is situated in Cyber Hub, building number 8, but they have 2-3 floors over there. Although they operate with different departments over there, they have KPMG, they have KGS, they have different things over there, right? Similarly, even EY has an entire office in the Golf Course Road and again an office in the Cyber Hub. Deloitte has an office in Cyber Hub, again next to the Udyog Bhavan. So they have offices at different places, right? So if they have the office in the same premise, right, then they can operate under the same person. They do not need a separate chartered accountant for that. Next, even if they are in the same city, right? So as I shared the example that EY has office in 2 locations, Deloitte also has office in 2 locations, even KPMG, even PwC, all these companies, they have office in 2 locations in the same city, that is Gurgaon, right? So if that is the case, then they do not need, although they have, but they do not specifically need to keep an in charge, right? A separate in charge for the office, right? And the last is if your office is within 50 kilometers. This 50 kilometers is not the distance between the 2 offices, but that your office, your second office, should not be situated beyond 50 kilometers from the end of the municipal limits. So where the municipal community, the municipal corporation, its limit ends, right? From there, another 50 kilometers. If you are within that range for the next office, you need not hire or you need not get into a partnership with some other member of the institute to take charge of that office, right? Because we think, okay, if it is 50-60 kilometers, you can manage it yourself over there, right? So these are the 2 exceptions. Clear with it? Now understand this topic that we have just discussed, right? Although it's a small topic, no much content in it, but this is one topic that the institute likes. That means, yes, the institute asks you question on this topic. So I'll discuss with you right now some categories of questions that the institute have already asked in the past, right? Like for example, in May 2002, you've had a question whereby I'll just brief you the content of the question, right? I won't narrate the entire question. Where what happened is that Mr. X was a chartered accountant and he used to operate, say, from Church Gate in Mumbai, right? But due to the increase in the workload, he planned to open up another office, right? And he opens up that office in somewhere in suburbs of Mumbai, which is somewhere around 80 kilometers away from the municipal limits, right? That means he will have to hire somebody else. He's not within 50 kilometers. First thing you understand, right? Then the question says, for running the new office, he employs 3 retired income tax officers. Income tax officers, man, retired, they can handle the office very well, no issues with that. But the point is, the institute does not allow that. The institute says they should be the member of the institute, very clearly. So over here you'll say that yes, as per the institute, they say that it should be under the separate charge of a member of the institute. First point. Second, okay, that will not be required if it is in the same premise, same city, or within 50 kilometers from the municipal limits. Right? They will conclude that yes, in the above given case, the chartered accountant is guilty. And one more thing, I'll just give you a brief, or I'll just let you know that this misconduct also falls under clause 1 of part 2 of the second schedule. Right? So this is the first insight you have got into the clauses. We'll deal with that clause in detail, but I'm telling you that yes, even this misconduct relates to clause 1 of part 2 of the second schedule. Then further you have more questions that was asked in November 2007 that dealt with the name board. So whatever topics we have discussed in the class, those are not a normal topic or a very casual topic to see, right? You have been asked questions from these topics in the past examinations, and you may also be asked questions on these topics in future. So in the name board, what do you remember with the name board thing? That you will have to attach, that is the definition of office, that if there is a name board of the firm's name in front of your office. And you can also hang a name board in front of your residence, but over there you can just write your name with a designation, but you cannot write the name of the firm. So the question says that there were 2 partners, right? They had 2 offices, one is the head office and one a branch at 80 kilometers distance, and both of them were separate in charge. But what they did is they hung the name board of the firm in front of both the offices and their residence as well. So understand that they are allowed to hang the name board in front of both the offices, no problem with that. And they're also allowed to hang the name board in front of their residence, but in that case they can only write their name and designation over there, but not the name of the firm. But in the given question, they have written the name of the firm. So the distance in this question was just to misguide you, that was irrelevant. Your crux over here is about the signing. I mean about the name of the firm on the name board on the residence. Right? So even that is not allowed. So with those cases, I hope you are clear with the provisions of section 27. Right? This is all that it had to say. And I hope you are also clear with the 2 exceptions that it had. One is the member practicing in hilly areas, and 2 where the office is situated in the same premise, same city, or within 50 kilometers from the municipal limits. Right? So with that, we come to the end of again yet another lecture, and stay tuned for the next lecture. Over there we'll come up with something new, some new sections, new provisions that are pending, and then finally we'll go ahead to the clauses. Right? So stay tuned till the next lecture. Until then, this is Abhinay Gupta signing off. Thank you and bye-bye.